Welcome back to normal baseball. The World Series is here, and it's a matchup of powerhouses, the Yankees and the Dodgers. The two top teams in baseball in the regular season are facing off in the final dance to decide who takes it all. Lewis, the World Series is here. By the way, I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And the World Series is finally here. What we wait for on opening day. The whole point of the entire regular season. We have made it. Game one is Friday night, tomorrow night, or tonight, depending on when you're viewing this. I'm very, very excited.
Oh, yeah. This is exactly, I think, what the baseball world needed. Super excited to see these two powerhouse teams just throw haymakers at each other. Let's get right into talking about it.
Yeah, so this is not the first time that the Yankees and Dodgers have faced off in the World Series. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. It's actually the 12th time these two teams have met in the World Series. And out of their previous 11, the Yankees have won 8. So a little bit of history here. A little bit of baseball history in this matchup. They have faced in 2024. They had a 3-game series at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The Dodgers took 2 out of 3 in that series.
The Teoscar Hernandez series, some called it.
Yes, some are calling it that. The 2-home-run game. He did have a huge series, but the Yankees lineup looked a lot different back then. They had Anthony Volpe batting at leadoff. Alex Verdugo was hitting second because Juan Soto was not in the lineup. I mean, you had some other changes like DJ LeMahieu was playing. They hadn't traded for Jazz yet. Grisham was in center field instead of Judge because Soto was out. Trevino was still playing over Wells. But Juan Soto not having played in that series is probably the biggest thing here.
Yeah, we're not just going to gloss over that. I mean, Juan Soto has been the it guy for the Yankees this season. I know that Aaron Judge hit, 58 bombs during the regular season, but as soon as, we made it to the playoffs, Juan Soto's been the guy. Clutch hits, clutch homers, does everything that he can for the team. Like, that's what this lineup was missing in that 2 out of 3 game, the 3-game series in the Bronx against the Dodgers earlier this season. So definitely going to be interested into seeing how now the Dodgers game plan around getting around guys like the 300 hitter Gleyber Torres has become since he took over the leadoff spot. This version of Juan Soto in the playoffs looking to win another World Series title. Playoff Giancarlo Stanton coming off an ALCS MVP. What are the Dodgers going to do differently to try and beat this version of the Yankee lineup?
Yeah, and the Dodgers lineup isn't necessarily the exact same either. Back in that time, Mookie Betts was playing shortstop every day. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, as we know. But then you also had like Jason Hayward in right field. That's just not how it is anymore. You have Max Muncy at third. Max Muncy didn't even play the last time these two teams faced off. And as we know, Max Muncy has been an absolute beast for the Dodgers in the playoffs. In the NLCS, he went 5 for 15 with 11 walks and 2 homers. So a complete on-base machine in the NLCS.
That funky Muncy.
That funky Muncy. That is a big differentiating factor from that lineup. And then, of course, I mentioned, you got a guy like Jason Hayward in that lineup. That's not the case anymore.
Astros legend now.
So I think adding Max Muncy into that lineup throws it for a loop. And it's not the same team that you faced coming in, or back in June, rather.
Totally. And let's not forget about Tommy Edman, who won NLCS MVP because he hit 400 in the NLCS. I mean, the guy was the definition of a pure hitter in that series, and I think that he's on the trajectory to continue that rolling right into the World Series, unless the Yankees game plan for him and try to realize that he is a legitimate threat in that Dodger lineup.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you mentioned he won NLCS MVP. He went 11 for 27, had 11 RBIs, and a stolen base in there too as well. He was the X factor for them.
Totally.
He's the guy outside of, the Mookie Betts, who Mookie Betts had an amazing series. We'll talk about him. The Mookie Betts, the Shohei Ohtani, the Freddie Freeman, who maybe is not as much of a threat right now as he has been. he was that X factor, that guy that they didn't expect. And before we knew it, by Game 6 of the NLCS, you got Tommy Edman batting in the 4 spot in the Dodgers lineup, and it's like, what's going on?
That is true. That is what I was thinking when I saw that lineup.
But I agree with you. They're definitely going to have to game plan for him. I don't think there's a world where they're going to say, oh, we don't have to worry about him. He's not going to do that in back-to-back series. They're definitely not thinking that at all. And I mentioned it before, Freddie Freeman is not playing like the Freddie Freeman we know because he is playing through a pretty significant injury. He had to sit out the final 2 games of the NLCS because of it originated as a sprained right ankle, pretty bad sprained right ankle, but it could be more than that now for all we know because he's been playing through it pretty much all playoffs.
Yeah, this will definitely be first week of the offseason. We're going to hear that he got surgery.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if it's just injured and, you can rehab it naturally, but then going out and playing playoff baseball on a injured leg, injured foot, in any sport, but especially baseball when you're just standing around all the time, you have to put leverage on your feet when you're playing first base, when you're in the box. Like, we'll see that he's going to get surgery because he's playing through something pretty tough right now.
Yeah, playing through it indeed he is, because yesterday he actually, in a press conference or an interview, he said that he's going to keep playing through it, and he's going to play in Game 1, no question about it. The immediate, or rather the exact quote is, right now I'm not thinking about game time decisions. I think with this time off, it's going to be a 100% go for me in Game 1, and we'll adjust off that after Game 1. But I don't think there's any question in anybody's mind that I will be in the lineup for Game 1. So Freddie Freeman will be playing Game 1, that's for sure. And then depending on, I guess, how he feels, how he plays, because his performance also matters in this too. If that foot injury, if he's like, oh, I could play through it, don't worry, but he's still not getting on base, they're going to link that to one another. So it'll be interesting to see if he can play through that injury after Game 1 and if he continues to play for the rest of the series, because if he can't, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big blow for the Dodgers, who during the regular season, we have seen what it looks like when you have Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman 1, 2, 3 in that lineup. They produce. They get the ball rolling to start the game. It feels like there's never been a 1, 2, 3 inning with those 3 guys at the top. Without Freddie, yes, you do have other hitters, but no one as threatening as Freddie Freeman.
Yeah. I mean, I think luckily for the Dodgers, something that they have to look a kind of relief point in that big 3, even if Freddie Freeman is out, you're coming off an NLCS where Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, your other top 2 guys, your 1-2 hitter, just went absolutely insane. Obviously, I do know that there was a lot more offense in the NLCS than maybe a lot of people thought there would be, or there was a lot more offense compared to the ALCS. But Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, after having pretty not great NLDSs, just went completely nuclear in the CS. So I think,
this version of playoff Mookie, going into the NLCS, seeing what he was sort of molding himself into, and then the fact that he really took a bull by the horns and just really ran with this version of Mookie Betts. He's back to being the Mookie Betts that we expect to see out of him, which is great. Because that's what this Dodger lineup needs.
He's playing prime Mookie Betts baseball right now.
Yeah, which is not easy to do.
It's dangerous. As a leadoff hitter, that's dangerous.
Well, Shohei's leadoff.
Oh, sorry.
As a 2-hole hitter.
As a 2-hole hitter, that's dangerous. Shohei, I mean, even then, what Shohei's doing is even more dangerous, I'd argue, as a leadoff hitter. There
will be definitely at least one time during this series where Shohei gets up to lead off an inning and they walk him intentionally. Like, they just say, you know what, we're not going to deal with you right now.
I don't know.
I could see it.
I mean, I could see it, but I don't think
that'll... He's also a lefty, remember. Shohei also...
Yeah, but I just don't see that happening. Not to lead off an inning. Maybe if they have an open base. I can't see the Yankees playing that baseball in the World Series. They've experienced it with Aaron Judge in the regular season. I think that in a playoff baseball, let alone the World Series, I think that they will not be playing that kind of baseball. I think in the World Series, you have to challenge the other team. You have to, yes, it's strategy, but you have to let your pitchers pitch to the top guys. You can't just walk them with the bases empty. That's just not a thing, especially in World Series baseball. But either way, I think Shohei Ohtani is going to be a dangerous force. Like you said, he's a lefty, and once the games come back to Yankee Stadium, he's got that short porch to work with. Not that he really needs the short porch, but that just makes more of his hits to left field potential home runs.
And right field.
I meant right field. My bad. But yeah, moving on to the Yankees, just talk a little bit about their lineup. What do you think the biggest X factor in the Yankees lineup is heading into this series? Because we know that the Giancarlo Stantons and even at this point we know the Anthony Volpes. So what do you think the X factor is heading into the World Series?
Well, obviously the X factor is Juan Soto, a guy that the Dodgers have not gotten to face before this season because he sat out the games in June when they played each other. I think Juan Soto is going to need to be like a 400 or so hitter in this World Series. He already has done it all. He's going to get the $600 million contract this offseason and all that stuff. Right now, he's purely playing to win a ring, and he needs to be the guy that steps up the most. Like, we can talk about Aaron Judge all we want. History shows that he's not going to step up to the plate in the postseason because, yes, he'll have a timely home run. He'll have a few moments. But we're talking about Juan Soto, a guy that can get on base. There's a world in where Juan Soto does not strike out one time in this series. Like, that's crazy. Saying that about anyone else on the Yankee lineup is impossible. But Juan Soto has every tool available to him within himself to put up that type of performance. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I don't know how much of a.
You never know. You never know.
I mean, we know Juan Soto is going to be a beast. We know that he's going to be hitting. We know that he's going to be there for the Yankees with his clutch homers and walks, getting on base, all the sorts. We know that's coming. For me, I want to say it's a guy like Anthony Rizzo is the biggest X factor for this Yankees team because he was injured heading into the playoffs. He was injured, and even at the end of the regular season. And he comes in the ALCS and goes 6 for 14. So you got a guy like that getting on base a lot. That's big, especially for a guy, maybe an under the radar guy. He hasn't had crazy seasons recently, especially not like the seasons he's once had. But you also have to remember he's played in the World Series before, and he's won a World Series before, so he's been here. And yes, while a lot of guys in the Dodgers lineup have been here before as well because of 2020. And even, if you're Mookie 2018, never count out a guy that's been there before. So I think Rizzo could put together a pretty big series and come up pretty big for the Yankees here.
Yeah, that's fair. And let's not forget Rizzo and the Cubs back in 2016 broke that 180-year curse. For Yankee fans, it feels like the World Series drought has been longer than that. So a lot of pressure on the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, making it has been huge for the city of New York already. We've seen. Yankee fans are getting emotional and excited, as they should.
Totally.
Another aspect I want to talk about, especially in games 1 and 2, because that's the games that we are definitely going to see this storyline play out, is not only playoff Giancarlo Stanton, but Giancarlo Stanton at Dodger Stadium. Because as much as playoff Stanton has been a thing, ALCS MVP. He would have won DS MVP if that's a thing. Giancarlo Stanton in 25 games at Dodger Stadium has 10 home runs, 26 RBIs, a 309 batting average, and a 1 OPS. So, first at bat, what everyone's going to be thinking. This is going to set the tone for how Giancarlo Stanton is going to be playing this series.
I will be honest with you. My first thought when you say first Giancarlo Stanton at bat of the World Series, my thought is not what's going to happen. It's how far is this ball going?
Oh, so
we have seen Giancarlo Stanton hit the ball quite literally out of Dodger Stadium. He won All-Star Game MVP in Dodger Stadium. The dude likes hitting in LA.
He does.
Cannot blame him whatsoever. It's a beautiful stadium. But what the counterpoint, the counter question is, what are the Dodgers going to do to neutralize him?
Right. I mean, I think you could see a similar thing. Not necessarily what you were saying with Shohei. I don't think they're going to walk him with the bases empty, but I think that they will do what the Guardians did not do. And that is, if you have second and third with, 2 outs or even 1 out, for all I care. If you have second and third in a 2-run ball game and Giancarlo Stanton steps up to the plate, I think the Dodgers will walk him. I mean, why wouldn't? Right, why wouldn't you do that? You have Jazz Chisholm batting behind him in the lineup, and that could change. Maybe they'll put Rizzo there to protect Stanton a little bit more, or even Wells. But I think the Dodgers will be able to recognize that and say, let's take the safe option and walk him here. Because while you can say, okay, Stanton strikes out a lot, even in that Guardian series, he only had 2 hits, and both of them were homers. But again, his 2 hits were home runs. So you don't want to take that chance, especially in the World Series, and especially in a stadium that he is known for hitting well in.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that I know about Dave Roberts and his time managing the Dodgers, is that whether you like him or not, there are plenty of times where he makes the right baseball decision. And we are going to see that on full display this series with how many just pure hitters the Yankees have.
Yeah, and speaking of, the right baseball decisions, we know the starters for Game 1, and I think for the Yankees, it was a clear-cut 1-1, Garrett Cole, you're throwing out your ace. There's no doubt about it, and, I'm not blaming them for that at all. And the Dodgers are throwing out Jack Flaherty. Lewis, what do you think of the Dodgers throwing out Jack Flaherty?
I guess it makes sense, right? No Clayton Kershaw, so, can't just throw away Game 1. But Jack Flaherty has been good when he's been on. However, his most recent start against the Mets, we did see his velo was down. His movement was down. Dave Roberts says that it was him battling an illness, which I don't know how much of that is true. I think that he was just fatigued. In the playoffs, you try to ramp it up more, and that happens. But with the extended time off, I think that we're going to get a fully healthy Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I mean, it was night and day in the 2 starts in the NLCS. Game 1, he threw a absolute gem. 7 innings, no earned, 6 strikeouts, just 2 hits. But then it was a complete other story in Game 5, where he gave up 8 runs in 3 innings, and most of those runs were in like the first 2 innings. Mm-hmm. So you get 2 different sides of the ball there, and even in his start against the Padres, it was kind of in the middle. You've had all different sides of Jack Flaherty starts. You've had a mid start, you've had an insanely good start, and you've had a really bad start. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting decision to go to Flaherty instead of Yamamoto, considering, with all these days off, I get keeping on the schedule, but you can kind of pitch whoever you want in Game 1 at this point. It's the last series of the year. You don't have to keep your guys on the 5-day schedule.
And you would think that if you're the Dodgers, hey, you just made this guy Yamamoto the highest paid pitcher in baseball. Why not throw him Game 1? Also, Yamamoto has pitched against the Yankees before and went 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs.
He put up a similar line to Flaherty in the NLCS, the 7 innings, just 2 hits, no earned. Yeah. It was an interesting decision because Yamamoto carved the Yankees. But I guess in theory, you think even if we lose Game 1, at least we can know that we'll have a guy who's been good against them going in Game 2. Maybe that's the thought process. Or it's just a matter of, Flaherty's been our guy in the postseason. We'll stick with him. Keep with the schedule. Just keep the ball moving. Could be something like that as well.
I think that it could also just be a thing of changing up speeds. Jack Flaherty, known to throw a fastball, throw it 43% of the time this regular season, dials up the speed. He can gas the ball. Unlike a guy like Yamamoto, who, yes, can also throw fast. However, his velo averages compared to the MLB averages are lower. I think it might just be a speed up, slow down type of thing where, hey, we want to get their bats moving fast after Game 1. Game 2, we'll throw out a guy who does throw more breaking stuff and does not lean on a nearly 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That could be a strategy thing.
Yeah, and then for Game 3, the Dodgers are probably, I mean, not officially. I mean, Dave Roberts said Yamamoto is almost 100% going to start for Game 2. But Game 3 is probably going to be Walker Buehler, and then they'll move to their bullpen game in Game 4 like they've been doing. What do you think of not only Walker Buehler, but the thought of a bullpen game in the World Series for the Dodgers?
When I saw that, my immediate first thought was, Tyler Glasnow, where are you? Like, they need a fourth starter, which sucks to say. But if these two teams are going to battle like how we expect these two teams to battle, your bullpen in Game 4 is going to be tired. It's going to be depleted. And then you're going to lean on your bullpen to get you through 9 innings of baseball in the Bronx. It's rough. However, if there's any bullpen in baseball that's up to the task, it's the Dodger bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They completely dominated the Mets for the most part in the NLCS, and they've just been really good recently as well. I think the main concern is having them go right after Walker Buehler Day, because Walker Buehler in the playoffs has been hit or miss. I mean, in the regular season, he was awful. But then he gave you that little bit of hope when he went 4 shutout with 6 strikeouts against the Mets in Game 3 of the NLCS. So he gave you that, if we get that guy in Game 3, our bullpen is going to be very well rested for Game 4. And a bullpen game at that juncture would work incredibly well. But
yes, but that's also assuming that you can get 7 innings again out of Jack Flaherty. You can get 7 innings again out of Yamamoto. You can get 5 or 6 innings out of Walker Buehler, which I'm just going to be honest, I don't see a world where that happens.
Correct. No, I'm agreeing with you. I am agreeing with that. But I'm saying if they do get that really, really good game from Walker Buehler, then their bullpen will be in a good spot. I'm not saying,
Oh, yeah. Totally. And let's not forget that there's a rest day between Game 2 and Game 3. Like, they're not going to be, oh my God, everyone needs Tommy John surgery. Like,
well, exactly. So
there's going to be downtime and all that. But if you keep showing the same hitters, the same pitchers, I think eventually the Yankees lineup will beat them there.
I mean, that's been said a lot in the playoffs, and I don't think that, I feel like a lot of people have been saying that a lot in the playoffs. I've been one of them, especially when we were talking about the Mets, and the Mets are very notorious for hitting well. As the more they see pitchers, they hit well off those pitchers. But every playoff series is like that. Every playoff series, you're seeing the same pitchers game in, game out. I mean, you're going to have to use the top of your bullpen whenever possible in the World Series. So I think that's just something that comes with playing in the World Series. These pitchers are going to have to pitch in minimum 3 games.
Easily.
Or even 4 or 5 if it goes to 7 games, which is also something I wanted to talk about. I mean, how many games, without saying who you think is going to win, how many games do you think this series is going to go?
7.
I agree. I think this is the most...
I don't know if that's just me being a baseball hopeful because I don't want the offseason to be here just yet.
No,
but when you're talking about a Goliath
not.
versus Goliath matchup, I feel like it will go 7.
Yeah,
there will be games where the Yankees dominate. There will be games where the Dodgers dominate.
Yeah, it's not you just being hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, God, do I really hope that this series just goes on forever. This is the peak of baseball.
Last World Series to go 7 games was 2019, a series that Juan Soto also played in, and he won. And Garrett Cole, one won, 1 lost. I agree with you. I think this series is bound to go 7 games. You have the number 1 seed in each league, which, by the way, I love. I've been seeing way too many. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like this World Series will be probably one of the most watched in the last, I don't even know how many years. This will get crazy good ratings. This will be a very watched World Series. But then you see people who are like, oh, the best team, number 1 against number 1. Oh, the 2 powerhouse teams. Who's surprised? Oh, But
the
then
two teams who spent the most money.
But then when you get a World Series like Rangers Diamondbacks with two underdog teams, everyone's like, "Oh, boring. No one wants to see these teams. The small market like there's no winning, it feels like." But I think regardless, we'll see that this is going to be one of the most watched series. People want to know what's going to happen in this series, and I don't know when the last time that was. It feels like everyone is pumped, excited, and is going to watch this series. I don't really remember when the last time that was.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And let's not forget that this World Series has some international pull. We
Correct.
have all of Japan that will be pulling for the Dodgers, Yamamoto, and Shohei Ohtani. Most of Latin America, if not all of it, will be rooting for the Yankees with how much pull they have down there on top of a guy like Juan Soto, who has been a generational talent. As the Yankees social media team calls him, the generational.
He
Juan
is.
Soto.
He is the generational.
And then let's not forget, in all of America, you have guys like Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, by the way, might be popular in Europe because they have played over there before, so we'll see that. We'll see about that. I just think that this World Series, like you said, it's not lined up to be. It is going to be the biggest World Series matchup in quite some time.
Yeah, which just goes back to why. Which is why it just goes back to my thought process of why they're definitely going to go 7. Not definitely, but I think they're going to go 7 games.
Yeah, and to
it's going to be a dogfight.
Complaining about, oh my God, it's the 2-1 seeds, they would not be saying that if it were, let's just say, the Phillies and the Padres. But the Phillies and the Padres each had 1 seeds. I think it's just because it's literally the 2 biggest, most recognized baseball teams in the entire world. I think that's the part of the reason why people might be complaining about it.
Phillies Padres also can't face off in the World Series.
Okay, but I'm just... You're right. Okay, if it were Marlins and Athletics, but they both grabbed 1 seeds, okay, no one would be complaining.
Yeah, I mean, that would be underdog, but I think it also goes to that both of these teams are not flash in the pan 1 seeds. These are going into the season.
These are units.
I think going into the season, most predictions probably said that the Yankees would be the 1 seed in the AL and the Dodgers would be the 1 seed in the NL.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that puts this at an even higher level than it already has been. I'm excited.
I am going to take a guess.
Yep, go for it.
And just say that there will be, I think, Game 1 of the World Series will have over 40 million viewers.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of people, but this is the World Series that it would happen.
I don't know about that.
Hey, Game 1 of the NLCS pulled 22 million. So
that's true. So maybe, you know what, I could definitely see it. What do you think of the Yankees bullpen?
Yankees bullpen is different. Luke Weaver's their closer now, whereas back in June he was not. It was Clay Holmes.
Right, but what do you think of it heading into the series?
They have a very, very attack-heavy strategy from the bullpen, and I do think that it is going to be a very, very big piece for this Yankee team in order to win this World Series. I think that I would hope that the starters for the Yankees can go long enough where the Yankee bullpen does not need to be taxed, does not need to get out of 6 innings, right? If, let's just say, Heel blows up, Rodon blows up, if Nestor's going to be on the roster, if he blows up, and the bullpen has to salvage 6 innings, 7 innings of baseball, then you're in trouble. But I think that there's no better bullpen up to the task, besides maybe the Dodgers, when it comes to going up against the Dodgers than the Yankees.
But that's also a nice part about the Yankees. You know, with their bullpen is arguably a little more shallow than the Dodgers, but they also have a set rotation, which is nice. You know, you have Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel, and
maybe Cortez.
I'm gonna say more than likely Nestor Cortez, because we've been hearing that in the last couple days that Nestor Cortez will be coming back from injury to pitch in the World Series. But even if not, you have those 4 guys that I just named, aside from Cortez, and you have Marcus Stroman. So even if you put 1 or 2 of them in the bullpen, if something goes wrong, you can easily pull them out of the bullpen for some long relief innings, which is something that has maybe gone away a little more in recent baseball years, but the long reliever in the playoffs, when you're pulling a starter out of the bullpen to go in for long relief, that could be huge for not only your bullpen, but for your team if they perform well.
Oh, yeah, it certainly can. And I immediately, when I think of a starter coming out of the bullpen, we've seen it time and time again not work. But if it were to start working again, I think it would be the Yankees or the Dodgers being the ones to figure that out. More than likely the Yankees, because there is a world where we do see a Marcus Stroman come in the 6th inning and close out a game, basically.
We've seen it before.
That is very possible.
I mean, close out a game we haven't seen from the Yankees, but we have seen Marcus Stroman come out of the bullpen for the Yankees this year. They've experimented with it once, and then they experimented it again once with Nestor Cortez Jr., who is maybe a little more used to doing that. Before, in like 2021, 2020, he was less of a full-fledged starter.
Yeah,
but I think that aspect gives the Yankees an edge in the bullpen,
totally.
Especially with how their bullpen has been performing. Because their bullpen guys, it's not like they haven't been good to the point where you're like, oh, I don't want them to have to carry a game. Like, they can definitely do that if a starter doesn't go as many innings, but it's just for the fact of not using their arms as much. That's huge.
It's all the same stuff that we said about the Dodger bullpen is applicable to the Yankee bullpen. Of you don't want them pitching all the time. You don't want them going.
That's That's just baseball. That's just baseball.
That's just baseball.
I'm just saying
Yankee
thing.
I'm only saying it so it does not sound like we're just being biased against the Dodgers and for the Yankees here.
We're not.
But
it doesn't sound like that at all.
I do want to also mention that the Yankee bullpen contained the Guardians lineup. And only allowed them to win one game, which was like a blow-up game from the bullpen, where, as in the rest of the postseason, the Yankee pitching staff has just been on one. They have been consistent, they have been good, they've been shut down, and they've been clutch. From guys like Tim Hill, who at the start of the season, if you said Tim Hill will be one of the clutchest players in the postseason when he was on the White Sox, I was like, there's no way in hell the White Sox even get close to a 500 record, let alone the playoffs, not thinking that the Yankees would pick him up for basically nothing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's the same with, who was it? It's Tim Hill, DFA'd by the worst team ever in baseball.
History, the entire baseball history.
Luke Weaver has been on like 5 teams in the last 3 years, and he had the worst ERA in baseball last year. Now he's their closer. And I believe it's Jake Cousins was traded by the worst team in baseball history. So they went from very bad situations, very bad teams, and have just glistened in New York. And I think you were talking about the we're kind of beating the bush on the Yankees. Let's talk about the bad for the Yankees right now. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has been awful.
Name players.
Aaron Judge. I was gonna say Aaron Judge. Yes, he went 3 for 18 in the ALCS, but at least he had a couple power moments. He hit some homers and he hit a lot of deep fly balls. So I wouldn't have Aaron Judge on my radar of guys like. He's not on my immediate radar of I'm worried about these guys. It's mainly Jazz Chisholm Jr. Alex Verdugo's up there, but it's not. It's Jazz and Austin Wells, because Verdugo was pretty bad most of the season. But Wells was, at one point in Rookie of the Year talks. He still is in Rookie of the Year talks. And Jazz, as soon as they traded for him, we knew how much of everyone knows how much of an impact he made in that lineup as soon as they traded for him. And they've both just gone ice cold. Jazz, not even with his bat, but when he has got on base, he's been horrible too because he's created outs.
Getting picked off at second base was just a horrible look.
Yeah, it just not great. That's another thing with the Yankees. Base running really needs to improve.
Well, they were like statistically the worst base running team in baseball.
Correct. So that's always something to look out for. They've in the last few years they have not been good at base running whatsoever.
From 2023 this season, yeah.
Do you think this is the Aaron Judge breakout series?
Oh God, would it be cool if it was, if he performed at the highest stage and
I'm excited for him,
they
man.
came out and won the World Series, him adding a World Series MVP, the whole Aaron Judge doesn't show up in the playoffs thing would be completely dead.
Yeah,
First and foremost.
I'm excited for him.
Oh yeah, this is he deserves it, just as much as the entirety of the Yankees roster deserves it. They worked their asses off for this, so that'll be cool. If we're talking about who needs to step up the most, I do agree with you that it is Jazz Chisholm. There is not a world, in my opinion, where the Yankee lineup can be consistent without a guy like him hitting, who will be in the bottom half of the lineup. You got to keep rotating that lineup. You got to move the chains. And there are times where Jazz gets into the box, especially in the ALCS, and I was like, why is he swinging for the fences? Like, why is he doing a full 360 after he whiffed on an 81-mile-an-hour slider? Why? Like, come on, bro. Just get the chains moving.
I mean, maybe it's a nerve factor. Maybe it's got something to do with this is his first appearance in the playoffs in his career.
No.
2020 doesn't count. 2020.
And 2023. They played against the Phillies.
That doesn't count either. Wild card.
Okay. Anyways, if you go to the other side and we talk about who needs to really step it up, who's not been playing well, do you have any names in mind?
The other side? I mean, it's kind of hard to pick that because
I got one.
The NLC, well, I mean, you can pick one, obviously, but the NLCS was such a power series. It was such a high-scoring series. But if you want to, throw me a bone, it's Teoscar Hernandez.
Yes.
He was the X factor when these two teams faced off in early June, and, he went 2 for 22 in the NLCS, and I believe both of those hits came in the same game, and it was the last game of the series. So
not a good look for Teoscar Hernandez, who, if they had an NLDS MVP, he would have won it against the Padres. Like, he played really, really well against the Padres, especially in Petco. Had the couple of homers in the series. He was good. And then when it came time for the NLCS, he fell off the face of the earth.
He did.
So I'm hoping that he can find something again because, man, that Dodger lineup goes from being like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this, to, oh my God, can the Yankees get through that lineup?
Yeah.
Not so much the question of how will they do it, it's will they survive trying.
I mean, I think a big thing that helped the Dodgers in the NLCS, even though he was struggling, they had a guy like Tommy Edman who kind of picked up the slack and did what Teoscar wasn't doing. And that's why they moved him into the 4-hole by the end of the series.
Weird look.
I think we also have to mention, just in terms of like potential X factors, it has to be mentioned Kike Hernandez. Playoff Kike Hernandez has been insane. We saw it in the last series again. He hit 292. He went 7 for 24. And even a guy like Chris Taylor, who they bring off the bench to pinch hit, even for defensive replacement. He did get one start, but I'm not really, he's their bench. He's a bench guy.
Yeah.
He went 3 for 8. He got on base. He scored a couple runs. He's a guy they have to look out for too. I mean, it's similar to the David Fry on the Guardians. It's a pinch hitter coming off the bench that you really have to watch out for.
Yeah, he's a strict pinch hitter that can inflict damage if there's a possibility. David Fry, a little bit more of a threat than Chris Taylor. No offense to Chris Taylor, obviously.
Maybe not in the playoffs, though. Chris Taylor's used to the playoffs.
Chris Taylor is used to the playoffs. So I just wonder what the Yankees' strategy is going to be. Obviously, I have no idea. You don't have a single clue either. Going into the World Series, this is just going to be, like we said at the top of the show here, a dogfight. It's going to be a Goliath versus Goliath. I am looking forward to seeing how both of these managers, good managers, by the way, Yankee fans, you can try to kill me. I love Aaron Boone. I think he's a great manager. Two great managers playing this very intricate game of chess with some of the best athletes that this game has to offer.
It's certainly going to be a dogfight. It's certainly going to be a battle of the best, which leaves us with one final thought before we get going here. Lewis, who do you think is going to win the World Series this year?
I'll do you one better. I'll give you the winner, I will give you the World Series MVP.
Okay.
I think Dodgers in 7, Shohei Ohtani wins World Series MVP. Sue me.
Wow.
Sue
Okay.
me. What do you think? What are you feeling?
I see it. I mean, again, we both said this is going to go to 7 games, and I'm going to stick with that. I am going to go Yankees in 7.
And World Series MVP?
World Series MVP. You know, I haven't put much thought into this World Series MVP part, but
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with Juan Soto. I think that's the
Oh.
that's the clear cut. You could
I
say
really,
you could say Aaron Judge. I was thinking about saying Aaron Judge, but Juan Soto has been here before. He's proven that he can do it here, and he's been a beast all playoffs so far. So I just don't see him slowing down. Even if Judge heats up, I think Soto's not going to slow down either. So he'll be right up there.
that's fair. When you paused, I really thought that you were going to say Luke Weaver. I got my hopes up.
Nah, I mean, it's possible. If he comes in 5-4 run, if he comes in 5 games and it's a 1-run game every single time, and he goes 1, 2, 3, all 5 of those appearances, that's World Series MVP type stuff. But Juan Soto just provides so much for them for so many different reasons.
It's the battle of the superstars. 4 out of the 5 best players in baseball are facing off in a 7-game series.
They are.
How can you not love baseball right now?
They are, and we're gonna start with Game 1, and we're both very, very excited. And on that note, we will see you guys after Game 1, the day after Game 1, to recap it and talk. Thank you guys for watching.
After Game 1? Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's have a fun World Series. Peace. Whoa.